Hey, how's it going, guys? It's been a while since I've created a video on Cypress. I figured I'll create some videos for those of you that are interested in learning Cypress. In this video, we're going to be learning about how we can work with input fields. The form we'll be working with will look like something like this. So here we have our text input, we also have a drop-down menu, we have a checkbox, we will also learn how to work with DatePicker, and then we'll take a look at how to work with TextArea as well as button. Essentially, we will be filling this form and we will be working with different types of input fields, and then we will be submitting the form and confirm the submit message when it will get submitted. So this form will kind of give you an overall idea on how to use Cypress with different input fields. So let me head over to Chrome and show you how we can interact with this form. Alright, so I'm here on practiceautomationbro.com/support form. So on this, if I scroll down, so this is the form that we're actually going to work with. I'm going to quickly fill up this form and then submit. I'll just fill this up with autofiller. And here you can notice I have some text inputs. I have a drop down, which you will work with. I have some checkbox here. I also have a date picker, so I can pick a date, for example, this one. And then I can fill in some random message here for the text area. And I'm going to click on the submit button. So once I do that, it will show me the success message. Essentially, our test will be to fill all of the form and then verify the success message. Alright, so let's jump onto our code and take a look at what we will have to do. Okay, so I'm here in VS Code, and if you remember in a previous video, we have created home.spec.js. So here I've created another file. I've called this one form.spec.js. And in this one, basically it's simple describe block over here. And in the describe block, I've created a it block. I've basically just named it opens the support form page and fills in the form. There I'm actually visiting that page, which is automationbro.com/support-form. Now we're going to work with different kinds of input fields. So the first one we will start off will be the text input. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to head back to Chrome. And here I'm going to go back to our support form page. All right, so the first one we have to work with are the text inputs. So we have these three text input fields. So I'm going to right click here, do inspect. So here I'm going to try to find the actual element for these input fields. So I will scroll up. Then I will select this. All right, so we're going to look for some kind of ID. Let me zoom this in for you guys. All right, as you can see, we have this ID here for this input field. So I'm going to take this, copy it, and then kind of paste it in our VS Code here. I'll paste this. So this one is for the first one. So that's going to be our the first input field. So let's take a look at the next one. So this is our next one. So I will copy this as well, which is our email field. If you want, you can also just do input type equals email. I will simply just go with the ID. That is fine either way. Then I'm going to paste that there as well in our VS Code. That's our second ID. And then we're going to find our last ID, which is going to be for our subject. Right, for our subject, it's input type equals text, and that this is the ID. So I will copy this as well. I hope this is familiar for you guys in terms of how to find elements from any particular input fields. So this is simply just selecting that elements, and now we will work with this ID by writing our Cypress code. Like I mentioned in our previous Cypress videos, in order to work with any kind of Cypress element, we have to use cy.get. I'm going to do cy.get, and there I'm going to add in my element, which is, let's say, this first one. So this is an ID, right? So I'm going to add in this here. Then I'm going to add pound to this, basically paste that. So this will basically check whether that element is actually there on the page. Once it is there, then this is what we will need to do. Since it's an input field, we have to type something in here. So for Cypress, we can use a simple command basically type. And then what do I want to type here? So let's say I'm going to type in automation bro. All right, so that's my first input field. So this is what I typed in. And I'm going to quickly copy paste this here because it's going to be the same thing for the other one as well. The second one is this. Now this is where we're actually typing in the email. I'm going to do that too. So I think everything is, oh no, this one is different. We'll paste this. And then here it's going to be my email. So let's say I can add in some email here, test.automationbro.gmail.com. Then I'm going to add the last one here, which is this. Paste it here. All right, so this one is going to be some kind of subject. So let's say we will add in the subject, enable to access the app. All right, that's good enough. What we're going to do is try to run this to see if this will work for us. If you remember, if I go to package.json, in order to run something, I'm going to do npx Cypress open, which will spin up my Cypress dashboard. And I've already done that before, so I'm going to spin that up right now over here. So I have two specs, home spec as well as the form spec. I'm going to click on the form. This will spin up my Chrome browser right here. Okay, there you go. It just filled up the form, or basically there's three input fields, so automation bro, test.automationbro@gmail, and then we have the subject over here as well. So we did get, then type, and then we did get again, then type, and then get again, and type for the last one as well. So this is how simple it is to work with any simple text input field. Next one we're going to look at is how we can work with the dropdown. The dropdown is going to be a little bit different. We can't just simply do .type. We will have to actually select this. We're going to have to select the drop-down option that we actually want to pick. If I go back to Chrome, over here, let's take a look at how this actually drop-down field works. I'll scroll down. You're going to notice that we have this select. So this one, if I open this up, within those select, we have three options. This option matches exactly what we have in our drop-down menu right here. The first one is quick support team. Second one is technical team. Third one is the sales team. So what we're going to do with Cypress is basically we will tell the value that we're trying to pick. Let's say if I want to pick the value for technical team, I will say that select and then pass in this value. If I want to pick the last one, I'm going to say select and then pass in the sales team. Basically whatever is my actual value there. The first thing I'm going to do is obviously copy this ID. Then I'm going to head over to my VS Code. And right here, I'm going to do sci.get and paste that ID. And from here, I'm going to say, what do I want to do? So I know that I want to select. And then this one, let's say I'm going to pick the technical team, which was one of the options there. Number second, I will select that. So there you go. So we just did that. And if I head over to our Cypress dashboard and actually open up the Google Chrome, there you go. It's running the test. And right over here, as you can notice, we had the select option. If I open up the select right here, you can see that it selected technical team. And this is exactly what we selected, right? We went over to our drop-down menu, then we did select, and we selected our technical team, which was one of the options there. Awesome. So this is how you can actually pick a drop-down menu and select any kind of option that you want. The next one we have is how we can work with the checkbox. A checkbox is kind of similar. What we have to do is just select which checkbox item we want to go for. So in this, it's a little bit different than dropdown because in dropdown, we can only select one, but with checkbox, we can actually select multiple. So this will take an array or basically a list of checkboxes item that we want to check. So if I head back to Chrome and scroll down, and here I'm going to show you some options. So you can notice we have this, let me scroll up. So we have this UL, which is an unordered list. Obviously, I'm going to need this ID. And from there, we have some list items. And in that list item, we have this input type checkbox, which we have the ID for that as well. But you're going to notice that we have the value, which is, for example, hardware issue here. And if I select, let's say the next one, I have the here, which one is software issue. So maybe if you want to select integration issue and software issue, we will simply pass in that value and we're going to check that one off. I'm going to head back to VS Code. And here we're going to do same thing, sci.get. So pretty much as you can notice, most of the things are same. We are selecting that element, and from there, or basically we're getting that element, and then from there we're trying to do something. Either we're trying to do .type or we're selecting it in the dropdown. In this case, we're going to be checking it. So we can use the .check command to .check. Now here, obviously, what do I want to check? So let's say I want to check here, the integration issue was one of the option, right? But as I told you, if I want to pick with multiple options or check multiple options, I can select an array. And within that array, I can select what I want to do. I'm going to do, let's say, integration issue. And the next one, let's say I want to pick the software issue. So these two are the ones that I want to pick. Do that, save it, head over to Chrome. All right, so this time when I did, as you can notice, it's telling me that there's an error. It's saying that side.check can only be called on the checkbox or basically on the radio button. In my case, I'm not actually selecting through that UL an actual checkbox. So what could be the reason for that? So if I head over to Google Chrome, so I'm selecting the overall UL ID. So this is the UL ID. What we need to do is select the checkbox. The checkbox is this ID plus the input. I need to select the input itself so that I know that I'm selecting that checkbox. So for example, if I copy this, paste it here, and if I do, let's say, input, you can notice now I'm selecting those 4 inputs right here, or 4 checkbox. So this is what we need. I'm going to head back to VS Code to fix that. And I'm going to change this to input and save this. This time I'm actually selecting the checkbox instead of just selecting the unordered list. I'm going to run our test again. And there you go. This time we didn't get any error, and it selected integration issue as well as the software issue right over here. So that's perfect. So as you can notice, so far we have worked with type, we have worked with select, which was a dropdown, and we have worked with check, which was our checkbox. The next thing is how to work with a date picker. I click here. You can notice from my date picker, I have to click on that particular input field right here. Then I have to select what I want to do. So let's say if I'm selecting this 30th, right? So I can select that. Depending on whatever I want to do, I can select it. I'm going to go to Chrome just to show you what this will look like. The first thing we need to do is click on our empty input field over here. That's going to be this ID right here. I will click on this. So the first command would be clicking on this. Once I do that, I'm going to see all of these options right here. I'm going to click this. And let's say if I want to select, I don't know, maybe 5th over here. So you can see this is a span, and it has a class, and it has an area label, let's say July 5th, blah, blah, blah. So, but we need to see how we can actually select this. Because obviously, right now, I can go ahead and say, okay, pick the area label July 5th. But if I'm on the next month, then this area label won't even be there on the screen, right? In this case, let's say if I want to pick whatever is there on the screen dynamically, what I can do is go to the day container, which is the overall class for the entire options over here. And from there, I'm just going to copy this. So this is my class. Then here, I want to pick any of the span. So maybe I want to say, I don't care which month it is. I want you to, let's say, select the 5th item from there, right? I don't really care about what the day actually or the month actually is. So I can go to span. From there, I can select, let's say, the child. And I can do that by doing dash nth child. And then I can say, let's say, 5th. As you can notice, the 5th one over here is the first date. If you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 over here, and the 5th one is this. I can even change this. Maybe I can do, let's say, 15th, right? The 15th one would be here. So maybe I will go with that. So let me just zoom this in so that you guys can see what I'm doing. So here, I'm doing dot day container span and it's child 15. And I can change this. I can change this to, let's say, 25th. I can change this to 28th, whatever you want to do. So to be on a safe side, I'll just go with 15th. So we'll take this option. So we'll basically click on that. And once I do that, it will do this. It will click on this and it's going to show me the availability date right over there. So we're going to do first click on this input option. Then we're going to click on any of these options that we're selecting. Right. So for my date picker, I'm going to sci.get. Select that ID. Do dot click. We have to click on that first. Then I'm going to do sci.get again. This time I'm going to select the day container thing that we picked. Come back here, copy this, and paste here. Then we're going to do dot click on this again. All right, so let's see. Let's go to Chrome to see if this would work for us. All right, did you see it open up the actual checkbox? Oh, sorry, the date picker. So if I go over here, maybe if I can repeat it. Yeah, there you go. So our date picker is open right now. Then when I did a click on it, it clicked the one that we selected, so which was the 11th. So, and we picked this based on like putting in the span and it's child 15. And you can change this to whatever you want, but in our case, we selected that. It was able to click on that date picker and was able to select the option that we wanted. Now this way it is dynamic, right? Like I don't care which month it is, I want you to pick the 15th option from that. It will go ahead and simply pick that one. All right, the next thing we have to do is fill in this text area. So this one is simple. I mean, there's nothing much to do. It's essentially just a simple text area. So I'm going to select that. This is the ID I have. I will just copy this and we will just add in the text there. So since it's a text, we will just do same thing that we were doing .type. Type.get is this here. And then I'm going to do .type. I can type something in here. For example, all right, so I'm saying your app keeps crashing every time. This will go ahead and actually add this in a text area. So far we have, as you can see, it says your apps keep crashing every time. So we have filled in everything. So we have our simple text input. We have selected our dropdown. We have added our checkboxes here. We have went through and clicked on the date picker, and we have also added text for our text area as well. The last thing we need to do is click on the submit button and then verify our success message. So we'll do that. I'm going to go here. So that's the ID. I will copy it. I can actually copy the entire thing. Our button. I will paste it here. So it's pretty nice with Cypress, right? Like basically, I didn't have to type anything here. I just went there, selected on that button right there, which was this copy button. Notice it's actually trying to submit. So this thing right here, I just said, okay, this is what I want. Copy to clipboard, and I pasted it there. Then here I can just say do.click, and it will actually go and click on that. So let's go back. The entire form will get submitted. And there you go, it's processing. Then once it's done, it's showing us this particular form right here, or this basically the success alert message. I'm going to copy this too. This one is our Everest forms notice, or basically, let's say if I go over to Chrome. Okay, so I'm going to select this. This one is obviously I can either go with the class, I can even go with the role alert. So for example, I can do the same thing here. And this would work as well. So maybe this is simpler. I'll just go here and select this. Then use code. Let's say verify this message. I'm going to do site.get. Is that here? And to verify, I'm going to say that it should contain text. And whatever the text was there, we'll just check for that. I'm going to do .should. And then what do I want to do? So I'm saying it should contain text. The reason I'm doing contain text instead of doing, let's say, have text, because contain will kind of ignore the trailing spaces if it's there. Sometimes what happens is there are spaces in actual text. Sometimes it's before or after. Contain text will just ignore it and then simply verify the actual text that you're trying to verify. And let's paste in the text. Text is, copy this. Go here and copy from here. And by the way, this is the kind of space I was talking about. So you see there's a space and there's a space afterwards as well. So we can just ignore this by simply copying in the text and then using our contain text there. There you go. That's done. Now we're going to try to run an entire test. Hopefully this time our test should work. We're submitting the form now. And we have this message. And there you go. Our assertion actually worked right over here. So it says we were expecting this particular text to contain this, and which we actually had that over there as test successfully passed. So there you go, guys. I know I went through this pretty quickly. So I'll quickly review what we just did. So first off, we open up our support form page by doing site.visit. And then the key thing over here is that we are selecting each of this element, basically getting the elements that we want. So we do site.get on all the elements that we want there. Right? And from there, it's basically trying to figure out which element we're working with. If it's a text input, we do .type, right? If we are working with the dropdown, that means where we have to select something, we do .select. And based on the option value, we're actually selecting whatever we want. And from there, if it's a checkbox, we do the same thing. Instead, we switch it to .check. Now with the checkbox, we can select multiple options. Here I've selected integration issue, software issue. Right? I can also just select one, or I can select all by doing .check and just keep adding multiple items over here. So like remember, this one takes an array where you can pass in multiple options. So for the date picker, so the date picker it seems complicated, but at the end of the day, what we did is we clicked on that input option, and from there we just selected whatever option we wanted, right? So I said dynamically just go ahead and pick the 15th option from the date picker. Let's go ahead and it will select that. Now, depending on whatever the date or the month it is, it won't even care. It will simply select the 15th option. Now, obviously, you can get even a little bit more complicated by selecting only the option that's enabled, not the disabled one. So those depends on how the date picker is implemented. But this one was a simple one, so I just went ahead and picked the 15th option. And the next is obviously the text area, which is same as the text one. So we just do .type. The button one is simple. You do a .click, and then we are trying to verify the message. This time we did .contains text because we're trying to ignore any spaces that are there in the beginning or in the end. So that's it, guys. That's how simple it is to work with forms in Cypress. You just need to know the right command and the right input field that you're working with. And using that input field, you can actually go ahead and actually figure out which command that you will need to work with instead. I've given you majority of all the options that you will need to use. So based on your application, try to figure out what input field it is and go ahead and actually use that particular command. That's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel to keep watching more videos like this. Also, don't forget to hit that bell icon so that you get notified for every time I put out new videos. And leave a comment below, guys, if you have any questions related to this videos or if there's some other topic you would like me to create content on as well. Lastly, you can go to automationbro.com where you can read all the blog posts that I put out each week, as well as you can subscribe to my mailing list where you will have access to all the blog posts, videos, and everything, new content that I'm putting out each week as well. That's all for now, guys. I will see you all in the next one.